Hello, welcome to another video. Today I'm talking about pans, mainly pans within, human. And this is a more to be human-esque thing, to be human sort of episode. So today I wanted to talk about, pans of people because people tend to, naturally form patterns, ways of behavior, and once, a pattern is formed, it's unlikely that pattern will break without, some sort of interference, like nice people won't suddenly become, an, asshole in like, no time. It takes natural time to get to that point. It's like set of bad events to break a person, to make a person different. People can change in time. Like, I sometimes have the thoughts that the fear of, what if I change, drastically? What if I become a totally different person? Not that, change is completely bad. Like, obviously, you'll naturally change within your life, but I feel like I want to keep some of, probably most of sort of the core values I have now into the future. Like, I still want to be, relatively, the same person, 10, 20, 30 years in the future. Even if, my life has changed and, things around me have changed and, probably had to, mature and actually, have a proper life. So, yeah, like, you know, there will be that change, probably inevitably. Just, I don't want to completely lose myself, so, don't want to be lost. The patterns of me that fully change. Like, think about, how other people, can change, think of like, I don't know, I'm just gonna list some examples of people I've created, creators of Doctor Who, because I don't know why, but it just comes to mind, like, how young Chris Chibnall was, like, pointing out the flaws of, certain stories and, saying, how repetitive they are and whatever. And then Chris Chibnall, when they actually worked on Doctor Who, just ended up doing exactly what they criticized. Like, how do you go from that to becoming the thing you directly were opposed to in the past? Like, time is weird. Like, it's be weird for me, or they come, the things I'm directly opposed to. So yeah. So that's, a case of, where, you know, innocent, intentions then just end up becoming, I guess what one of the, you know, I guess most, disliked slash hated Doctor Who, creators. And yeah, I guess, it's just interesting, the change. Another person I can think of, Doctor Who sphere, is RTD. Like, when they were, doing, progressive sort of stuff, and Torchwood and, regular Doctor Who, back in the past, you know, in the sort of original RTD era, it, felt cool, and, it was, nice for, that representation back then. But now, with the current era, it feels forced and not earned and poorly written. In some cases, very poorly written. Like, what the hell are you talking about, Donna? You were one of my favorite characters. What absolute nonsense are you babbling about? Everyone is equal, no matter, gender, race, religion, or otherwise. Saying, females is better may be technically true in some ways. Like, there's obviously benefits, but there also is negatives, Such is life. There is always balance, good and bad things. Naturally, biologically, females is the dominant thing. That's why there's slightly more, just by a percentage of the world, slightly more females than males. It's like 50 point something percent, like 50.1 or 2, like maybe a bit more, maybe it's 51.1, but still like it's only, a marginal, difference, but the point is, females biologically are dominant. Is the point I'm trying to make. Got about around to it in a weird way, but yeah, I guess that's the benefit. There's no true males, as there's yet to be a YY. What even would YY be? Because males are XY. So, who knows? Something for, I guess, science. Science to figure out. the theoretical possibility of that. And I've also, theorized about it before based on, my basic, understanding of, you know, biology and stuff. Obviously, I'm no doctor, so when I said that stuff, take it with a grain of salt. I did eventually, say, probably some of the things I said before were wrong, like, young me was dumb at points. I feel like, at this point I can sort of discern between, real and fake. Obviously, there's always going to be that one something, but usually I'm like, my, BS meter, whatever, is like, this doesn't seem true. Or, this seems bogus. Like, Doctor Who becoming Doc Who. That just, why? It's already pretty simple as it is. Like, sure, it might make sense as a nickname for it, but not the name. Like, if you just want to say, oh yeah, Doctor, that's a show I watch, if you really want to be quick, if you want to speed run saying Doctor Who, but don't have to say Doctor each time, just referring it to Doc Who, I guess, makes sense as a nickname, but not a name. Anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a too much of a tangent. Anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah, I think balance. Life is balance. There's no, greater or lesser people. We're all just people. And we all have our different, quirks and, patterns. So, one is not necessarily greater than the other. One is not, better or whatever than the other. But yeah, back to pans. The main thing, even though it was a somewhat relevant tangent in some parts, more than others, about patterns. We form, patterns in our life, which it's very hard for a person to change. In some ways. Sometimes it can be easy. It sort of ranges, some people are more flexible than others. Such as, in the nature of humanity. Some people will be more stubborn, stuck in their ways, and some people will, change bits. It's kind of weird if you're changing all the time. Like, it kind of shows you have no real values. Like, nothing really matters. At least being one of those people you just sort of fit in anywhere because you just change with the flow so much. that I guess you can just fit anywhere. But usually people have values because then, that's something to grasp onto, that's a, familiar pan, even if, the values between one and another person might not exactly line up. At least, you know, from one another they can, recognize, each other have, different values. And hopefully discuss it in a diplomatic and meaningful way and not turn into, the internet. So, yeah. But yeah, people usually, like people that have, personalities, values, whatever, something to grasp onto, because if you're just nebulous and always changing, like, what am I supposed to take away from someone that's, going to be different the next day? Like, there's nothing to hold, nothing to grasp. Could go from, nice person to, a jerk to, like crazy to, I don't know, annoying to, I don't know. The point is, people are just fun, nebulous with their pans. It's like, what am I supposed to take away? If there was something solid, there'd be something to grab onto, but there's nothing to hold. But yeah, but usually people have, opinions these days. Like, it's rare to find someone that's probably truly, like, just flows between whatever. Probably exceptionally rare. Like, honestly, I can't think of one. If you can think of one, like, I guess, better than me. But yeah. So yeah, values in your pens, it's kind of what defines a person. But we also kind of get stuck in our pens because if everyone else is, relatively staying in their own pens, we just stick to our pens like even stronger with time, and they probably also stick stronger to their pens in time, where it's like, in some ways there's no, free will. We don't truly change after a point. Which is why there's probably the saying, people, never truly change. Which is kind of a negative outlook on life. But some people really just don't seem to change no matter what you try. Whether you try the unorthodox or not, to change a person's mind. some people are just stuck to their ways, permanently. Like, and we all get kind of trapped in our own boxes without, as true free will explore other possibilities. Like, I won't suddenly become evil, crazy villain guy without some drastic things changing in my life. So yeah, we'll never, get to explore, what would be, that thrill of being, evil bad guy, ha ha ha, villainy. But yeah, I guess the whole point of this is that people kind of just get stuck in their boxes and it's hard to change. I'm hoping, the talk topics, might invoke change. That's something in what I talk about, hits true and, changes things for the better. But I can only hope. I can only, technically pray that things go right. So yeah, I guess, it's, it's, there's a lot to life. And, yeah. But, yeah. I guess we'll all be stuck in our pants. Unless things truthfully change. And hopefully I can evoke some of that. But yeah, and I feel like alone it's going to be hard to achieve. Obviously, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep trying and trying and trying until something resonates, and then try to hold on to whatever it is that resonated and try to use that and progress that further to further, prove and do things, make things better as I want. But yeah, who knows? Who knows anymore? Sometimes I don't even know. My brain has just become like, what is life anymore? Yeah, again, the question of, is this really real? Like, I believe it's real. And by the terms of multiverse, even if we're creations of someone else or, multiple someone else's, I still believe, we're real. But, the layer above might not say the same. But yeah, I guess I just want to do the best I can, given the craziness of the world and everything. Yes, this is the one thing I thought of, as a way to contribute to hopefully society's betterment. Hopefully. I guarantee, but hopefully. Either way, yeah, I think I've rambled enough, talked about pans, that, pans can be unshapable at times, like, but then again, they can be shaped. It's, life's complicated. There's so many things. But yeah, I think I'll do it for this talk topic. So just remember, I think the two key things as always, kindness and understanding. And if it's hard to do the first, at least have the second, understanding. It might be technically the second, but I think it's ultimately the more important one of the pair, because understanding each other is a key part of, making certain those barriers that form between people are sort of dissolved and disintegrated, even if you're not fully capable of, kindness in a, way of, niceties, whatever. Kindness can come in many forms. Sometimes you don't truly see, the kindness of others until later. Sometimes too late. Too late to give a proper thank you to them. Like a truer thank you, like, I probably already said thank you, but to, really say and, try to express that beyond anything else, you really, mean that thank you. And I just wish, that there's one person in the world that I wish I, had the chance to, do a proper thank you to, and I'll never probably see him again. And if I do, I am, basically instantly, saying thank you. Like, it basically be hello and thank you. If I saw that person again, like, that be the first words, I probably say to them, even if it's, been 5 years. God, time flies. Basically 5 years. God damn. But still, ultimately, thank you would be the words I would convey to them, fully and expressly. Because sometimes a true and absolute thank you is needed, and you'll regret when you don't do it. Honestly, there might be others that I should say a true and honest thank you to. Like, because, I guess thank you, like the word love you is another word that can also rarely be said. It's another one of those, you know, combo of words that sometimes doesn't really get used except for obviously like a, oh yeah, thank you for my meal, thank you for your service, or thank you blah 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 blah, you know, genuinely, you know, being polite to, you know, people. But it's rare for just a thank you to someone out of nowhere and for it to be, you know, a full on genuine thank you. So yeah, I think I are probably at least two people a genuine thank you. Probably more. But I don't know. Oh god, another person that I don't know if I would get thank you to. Like, because I rarely see them. At least the chances are higher with the second person than the first, because the first is out of my life. Haven't seen them, you know, since high school. Like, you know, it's just been that long. Where the other is Riku, and I would definitely want to thank him for being Rogers, because, you know, he might not truly, you know, comprehend just how important he was to me. So, yeah. And the other two would be obviously then Kim and Sky. But yeah, Riku would definitely be one that I would want to be like, thank you, you know, thank you 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, infinity times, multiversal eternal times. Like, words cannot express, you know, my gratitude. And especially if they do, you know, pop up again in the role. Like, it just mean that much to me. Be that important. And be, you know, that important. Anyway, I kind of veered off again. But, you know, it was a point. So, yeah. So, but yeah. Hands of people forever, you know, remain, you know, same or, you know, changed by drastic things. The world can sometimes be stagnant or expressive. I guess that there's always right in life for powerful words. Like, I think ultimately for better. But on occasion, it's like, okay, do we really, really need to go this far? Like, I understand the point of diversity, variety, whatever. But it feels like this is getting absurd. Like, how oddly specific do you need to go? Like, it's like, the people that have really long, goddamn, over convoluted coffee audits. Like, do you really have to specify everything and really need everything to be precise? Because usually they want everything precise to the point. And if even just one thing's off, like, you know, they'll be a douche and be like, I want to, speak to your manager and whatever. Like, do we really need to go so oddly specific that's basically scientific at that point? Like, leave the really oddly specific stuff for scientists. Like, if you really want to go that far, sure. Feel free. Just, it feels like, it's so unnecessary. Only on very, very rare occasions would it probably be necessary to know all the facets. Especially if, you're confused or, need some more knowledge on, the details. But most of the time, being so oddly specific is not really required. Anyway, I'll end this kind of semi-rant. But yeah, it's just can be weird annoying at times. Like the overcomplication of things, it just like it goes over my head. Like, I can accept things beyond the binary, whatever. But there's a point where it's like, okay, these make sense to me. Bi, gay, trans, whatever, lots of different topics of, diversity, you know, you know, dark skin, like, different religions, just anything with diversity in any way, like, it's like, okay, yeah, I get all this relatively, even if I don't know the specifics of each thing, like, I don't know all the specifics of Buddhism. I know some of the stuff, but not everything. Even stuff about Christianity, I won't fully know, the Catholic stuff, won't fully know, like, anything, I wouldn't know the whole, shebang, but at least, I get the point, or get some of the points, or at least somewhat understand. But yeah, when things get really, really, really oddly specific, it's like, why? Why can't we just, you know, refer to as like one, like if you're like an atheist but not fully atheist, like I don't know what the word be for it. It's, but yeah, like if you're elaborating on everything to super level, making a super convoluted term for it to describe all the aspects of how your specific variant of it works. Like, it is just like, it feels like unnecessary. Except for, science, the purpose of science. As there will be, super overcomplicated words like the scientific names of certain things is like absurd, like given how many things there are, like, it can be quite crazy. But for science, it's needed because you need to be oddly specific in science. Even the smallest measurements going off means failure. But in real life, that failure is probably not really gonna happen as much, or at least as much of a degree. Like with science failures, it's like potentially up to end of the world, scale. Real life failures won't usually reach that far unless it's a really bad day. But it takes multiple little things to lead to, the end of the world. Small little moments, as the doctor says in that one episode. Lots of small, inconsequential things happening in a series of events where it all leads to, the end of the world. And I'm pretty certain it was like the title is something end of the world, lay of land. What was here? Point is, I guess, specifics after a point become pointless, and it seems like you're only doing it for the seems small, and it just ends up coming across as potentially, douchey. Unless you're just genuinely saying it for, a weird science fact or whatever. So, yeah. Anyway, really went on another tangent. God, that this one surprisingly getting me on the most tangents. Anyway, now I think I'm gonna end. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, uh, yeah. Life in the end makes us have pans. I guess my pan is if I think of something interesting, especially during one of these, I can definitely go on a chain of tangents like that's sort of the pan that has been built for me, and each person has their own pans, and life is complicated as hell. We shouldn't be so cruel to each other, and try and see each other's perspectives. At times it crushes me so much to be like, why don't you just hear me? Why don't you just understand? But some people never seemingly understand. Yeah, and no matter what you try, both the normal and unorthodox, some people's pans will truly never change. I just have to hope, for my own pans, they, naturally change for, good, wiser, and, better with age and stuff, whatever. Do better. Be better. And yeah, and kindness and understanding are a key part of that. Yeah, and if you can't really express, kindness as much, try and be creative, I guess, if you struggle with being, calm, if you have anger issues, try and be creative, use that anger for good, not for, destroying things. Like, use that, frustration to fuel something, better. Yeah. I think I'll finally, conclude with, that pans in life are all, bizarre. And who knows if real it's real, that's, for, philosophy, whatever. I've definitely talked about, reality and all that before, and probably will again. But yeah, I think it's finally time to conclude, so thank you all for watching this video, and peace and thank you to the next one. Just think about what I say. That's all I ever ask, to think. That way, hopefully, that thought invokes ideas, and ideas will lead to good things. Hopefully. So, yeah. Just think. And, have some kindness and understanding. Anyway, that'll be it. So peace, thank you, and goodbye.